There has been a huge shift in firearms laws since the Supreme Court's decision in New York State Rifle Association versus Bruin, where the court struck down New York's proper cause requirement for a person to obtain a handgun permit. This necessarily meant that Maryland's good and substantial reason requirement was also struck down because the Maryland law was substantially similar to the New York law at issue in Bruin. In this video, I will talk about some of the recent 2024 court cases affecting firearms laws around the country. My name is Morgan Lay. I'm an experienced criminal defense attorney in the District of Columbia and Maryland with Markham Law Firm. First up is United States versus Rahimi, where the Supreme Court recently upheld a federal law barring a person who is subject to a domestic violence protective order from possessing a gun. This case was decided in June of this year after federal prosecutors appealed a Fifth Circuit decision holding the law unconstitutional. The court noted that some lower courts appeared to be taking a more rigid position than the Bruin decision intended, and said that courts should look at whether the modern regulation that is being challenged is relevantly similar to a historical regulation. Second up is Garland versus Cargill, where the Supreme Court struck down the ATF's ban on bump stock devices. A bump stock is a firearm accessory that allows semi-automatic rifles to fire bullets at a similar rate as a fully automatic weapon. Bump stocks gained national attention after the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting, where law enforcement found bump stocks in the hotel room of the shooter. The federal ban went into effect in 2019. The Supreme Court held that the ATF exceeded its authority in defining a bump stock as a machine gun because a firearm with a bump stock does not fire more than one bullet by a single trigger and is not automatic. Third up is Garland versus Range, involving the prohibition of people convicted of certain crimes from possessing a firearm, also known as the felon in possession law. The Range case stems from a Pennsylvania man convicted of a felony for making false statements to obtain food stamps. The Supreme Court sent this case back to the Third Circuit for consideration after its decision in the Rahimi case that we just talked about. There's currently a circuit split involving the felon in possession prohibition on possessing firearms. A circuit split occurs when the federal appellate courts reach different conclusions involving the same law. What these cases will likely boil down to is the nature of the underlying conviction. Was the underlying conviction a violent crime or not? Fourth up is Garland versus Vanderstock, where the Supreme Court will consider laws involving ghost guns. A ghost gun is an unserialized firearm that is constructed from separate components purchased as a kit or as separate pieces. The issue for the court are, 1, whether a weapons part kit that is designed to or may readily be completed, assembled, restored, or otherwise converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive is a firearm regulated by the Gun Control Act of 1968, and 2, whether a partially complete, disassembled, or non-functional frame or receiver that is designed to or may readily be completed, assembled, restored, or otherwise converted to function as a frame or receiver is a frame or receiver regulated by the Act. Fifth up is Green versus Garland, where the plaintiffs are challenging a federal law that prohibits medical marijuana users from purchasing and or possessing firearms and ammunition. Now we're down to the final two cases. In Novotny versus Moore, the plaintiffs are challenging a Maryland state law that expands the areas where a person is prohibited from possessing a firearm. The focus here is on the constitutionality of banning firearms in healthcare facilities, restaurants, and private buildings open to the public. The case will be heard by the Federal District Court of Maryland. Finally, in Bianchi versus Brown, the plaintiffs challenged Maryland's assault weapons ban as unconstitutional. The Supreme Court heard the case in March, but a decision has not yet been rendered. I hope you found this information useful. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and Markham Law Firm's YouTube channel for more informational videos like this one. There will be additional updates as additional cases are decided, so watch out for those videos and subscribe. Thanks again. See you next time.